Hi, Jeff Munn, Creating Extraordinary Futures. What do you expect to happen? What do you expect your life to look like? How often does your expectation line up with what actually happens? If you're like most people, it lines up pretty well, at least on some of the big stuff. Maybe you've got a career that has turned out like you expected, maybe a little better than expected, maybe a little worse. I want to suggest that the results do not create the expectation, but the expectation creates the results. And this is something that you can follow a lot of spiritual writers. I've recently gotten into a writer named Neville Goddard, who lived in the early to mid 20th century. He wrote books like Feeling is the Secret and a bunch of other ones. And he interestingly wrote that when we get into the feeling of having something, that thing is actually created. He talked about it from the perspective of the conscious mind planting things for the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind creating them for us. So we don't have to, in his view of the world, we don't have to know how it's going to be created. We just have to envision it, and it will be created. And what's really interesting is that his view of the world perfectly aligns with quantum mechanics, quantum physics, that it is the observer who creates the result. The result does not exist on its own. It actually requires an observer. And if you take this to what some other writers have said, there's a physicist named Robert Lanza who has created a whole different topic of study, if you will, a philosophy that he calls biocentrism, which says that the universe is created by consciousness, and consciousness does not exist within the universe, but is actually essential to the creation of the universe, that you and I collectively are creating the physical world. We are collapsing the quantum function. Before we are there to observe it, the universe exists just as an infinite infinite potentiality, if you will, an infinite number of potential possible solutions. And there's one theory that says that each of those solutions actually exists, or at least can exist, as a separate universe. And that we can, every time we make a different choice, we're effectively creating a separate universe. This is the multiverse theory. So there are all of these theories. In spirituality, in quantum physics, in what the prophets and sages have been telling us for millennia, that all point to the same thing. And that is that through our feeling, through our expectation, through our commitment, whatever words you want to use, if you are utterly convinced that something will happen, it will happen. You are creating it through your expectation, through your feeling that you've already created it, that you are the actor. You are the creator. And it's not just creating in the sense of creating a painting or writing a book. It's creating the universe that you live in. You have infinite power. That's what all of these things are pointing to. And of course, we don't believe it. And what I have found is when I can step into that place of belief, when I can step into that place of expectation, whether it's building a coaching business or getting a job, getting a house. This actually happened with the last house that I lived in Bethesda. Actually, come to think of it, it happened with the house here. If I can expect that something will happen, it will happen. And I would love for you to experiment with that, for you to see what is possible for you, because it's way more than you think. See what you expect and what is created through that expectation, and see if you change the expectation, if the result changes as well. Have fun playing with that. Experiment. You are a glorious creator, and have fun with that. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.